Hello, Sumit. You're welcome. If this is your first time in my page or my channel, or your first time seeing my face, then you're welcome. Okay. So today we'll be treating pattern drafting 101, more like pattern drafting for beginners who have never sewn before, who are just novice into fashion designing, or you're having difficulty really putting these things together to your understanding. I see most fashion designers who would want to learn fashion designing, start from learning online on YouTube precisely. And I don't completely discourage it, but I don't totally encourage it either for a JJC. That's because I feel like it's not a good platform to start for a novice. It's different when you already have knowledge about sewing and you just decide to go there to gain more than starting there. They don't really take you from the foundation, or there are people that do justice to it, but these things can really be stressful trying to find the right source to learn, which can be frustrating. And that is why I have put this video together to teach us pattern drafting for our beginners. We have various classes for various niches, but then we get to use pattern drafting. So I just thought I should do justice to making pattern drafting simplified for even someone who has never sewn before. Okay, so let's get started into pattern drafting. So you need to understand, there are some basic things you need to understand. We're going to start with using this dress form. I'll be using this dress form as a basis for what I would be teaching us. So this is actually a kiddies dress form. It is not, I just want to give us the basis, and that's why I'm using a small body form and not an actual big size, but then the same thing applies to a bigger size. All right, so let's dive into here. So I see many people when they go to learn fashion designing tailoring from mostly roadside tailors, they don't do justice to pattern drafting. That's because these people are out for their business, okay, and you won't completely blame them. It's different when you go to a fashion school to gain this knowledge, so they're going to teach you like from the foundation. And when I'm speaking out of experience, because when I got into fashion designing, I just enrolled into a roadside tailor for a start, and she was actually using a freehand method, which I don't think is ideal to teach a beginner with. You get, it's different when you already know the basics and then you're just cutting freehand because you understand certain measurement that applies to certain areas, and we would just stand there and watch. We don't really understand because it's freehand, and there's no way you can just explain something without practicalizing it. Okay, it's freehand. How do I know certain measurement for certain areas? Okay, and that's why I put up this video to make this thing simplified for some of us, because I've been there before and I know the struggle. Okay, so I'll be using this as a tool, this mini dress form, to simplify or break this down, so that, because you need to start from somewhere. Okay, so let's take it that this is your first time. I'm going to teach you as though you are a 5-year old who do not understand fashion designing. Okay, so let's get started. So this is a dress form which we are going to assume is a big size. So you're just going to assume with a big size. But of course, if you want to learn tailoring, I will not advise you to just start cutting fabric in bigger size. You should start from making a small size, so you don't end up wasting fabric and feel like you're not doing enough. So you just start and then you progress. Okay, all right. So now let's assume this is our client, and my client comes to me to want to make her dress. So what do? I take her measurements. So how do we take measurements? There are basic measurements that you must take. There are standard measurements you must take. So you're going to start, first of all, from taking your client's shoulder. There's really no standard to what you must start with first. Okay, but I'm just saying that there are measurements, standard measurements you must take first. Okay, so this is the back of my client, and you're going to take your shoulder measurement. I'm going to teach you how you'll be transferring this measurement to your pattern. Okay, of course, we're talking about pattern drafting here. So you need to understand how to transfer this measurement to your pattern and then transfer it to your fabric, which will now make sense to what you're doing. Okay, so this is the back of our client. You're going to take her shoulder measurement. Now, there are certain measurements that are divided into two. There are certain measurements that are divided into four. Okay, basically other measurements, I don't think there are certain just slight division, but I'm just saying there are standard measurements that you're either dividing it by 2 or by 4. Okay, note that. So you're going to take the measurement of the back of your client from here, this point, from one end of the shoulder to the other end. So here we have 10. All right, note that down. I'm going to take us through on our pattern, but let me just show us how to take this measurement. So we have 10 for here, but of course, you know, it can differ for various sizes. This is just a mini form. It means if you're dealing with somebody that is a big size, you may be talking about say 14, 12, depends. Okay, so this is how to take your shoulder measurement across like so. Okay, now we've taken our shoulder measurement. The next thing you want to take is your bust measurement. All right, so how do you do this? You put your tape round like so. All right, and just take the measurement and note what you have on your clients. All right, so whatever you have, you take it down. So for this, I'll be using 26. I just want to use, although it is 25 originally, okay, but because I said I want to teach you like a 5-year-old, I want to be using even numbers so that when we are dividing, you won't be confused. All right, so I'll be making do with 26. So let's assume that our bust measurement for this client is what? 26. Note that down. Okay, remember to always write your client's measurements as you measure. Okay, so now I have taken my bust measurement. The next thing I want to take is my waist measurement. If here is your bust, of course the next part down below is your waist. Okay, I will just be taking the waist circumference like so. Okay, like I said, I'll be using even number, so I'll be going by 22. There is no, I'm not saying you must use an even number. No, if I'm to take the original measurement for this dress form, I'll be getting say 21 and a half. Can you see? You're just going to put your tape around the circumference of your client like so, and I'll be getting 21 and a half. But because I want to divide this, we're going to be dividing this. I want to get even numbers and I don't want to confuse you. That's why I'm making do with 22 so that you're going to understand. Okay, so the next measurement we want to take now is the hip measurement. Okay, so I will be putting this, let's assume this is our hip. I'll be putting this round the circumference of my client. Whatever you get, you note that down. So I'll be using 26 for this hip measurement. Okay, if I'm to take the original measurement, I'll be getting 24, but I just want to use 26. We want to make a blouse for this dummy. Okay, so if you want to go into fashion designing, you're not just going to start, okay, you see this style, I want to make this style. I saw skirt, I want to make skirt. I saw trousers, I want to make. No, you're going to start. There's a foundation, there is a basic. You don't rush yourself, because that's the mistake I made when I started. I saw different designers and I just want to rush into being like them and making clothes like that. If you put pressure on yourself, you may not get there fast. Okay, so take it slowly and easy on yourself. Now, all this measurement I just took is what we call horizontal measurements. Okay, because these are circumference. All right, these are circumference, like round measurements you take round as circumferences, so they are called horizontal measurements. Of course, you know what, aside fashion designing, you understand horizontal lines and vertical lines. Okay, you know vertical lines are straight lines, and you know horizontal lines are you know, these other kind of lines. I don't know how to explain it. So now we've taken horizontal measurement because these measurements are going like so. Okay, so if you want to take a vertical measurement majorly measures the length of things. Okay, so if I'm to take the vertical measurement for this, you're going to be measuring the length of the blouse you want to make. So if you want to make a crop top, for example, if this is your body form, let's say this is the bust, you'll be taking the crop top is supposed to be on the waist or wherever you want the length to be. All right, so just going to taking the measurement like so. Let's say if you're taking a crop top to this point 11, so it means I have 11 inches as the length of the blouse I would be making. Do you get it? So this is a vertical measurement because it it measures in a straight line and not the slant line. Okay, so we want to take the measurement for this blouse. We are not making a crop top, we're making a full top for this body form. So I will be taking the length as, say, 15 inches. Note that down, because we'll be using this measurement at the end of this video. We'll be seeing the top I'll be making for this body form. So please stay with me. All right, so let's say I'll be using 15 as the length for this. So we're not using the arm or the hands for this, because like I said, you don't just rush yourself as a JJC. You don't rush yourself, you take it easy on yourself. So you're going to first know how to make the basics before you start making sleeves. After you start making sleeves, you can now start being creative to diversify the kind of sleeves. So don't rush yourself. Okay, so first, as a fashion designer, the first thing you should know how to make is, let's say, a sleeveless blouse if you want to start. Okay, or yeah, a sleeveless blouse. You have to start from that, and then you graduate into making a blouse with a sleeve, and then you graduate into making a blouse with flare, that is a peplum top. So don't start with saying you want to make a blouse with sleeve and peplum. That is not the way to learn. Okay, so now I hope you've taken all this measurement down, because I'm going to take you through my pattern on how we can transfer these measurements. Now, most measurements are divided into 4 or 2. If you remember what I said, most measurements are divided into 4 or 2. And as time goes on, you're going to know those measurements. So don't rush yourself. Now, the basic measurements divided into 4 are these horizontal measurements we've taken. So if, for example, I took 26 as my horizontal measurement for my bust, you're going to be dividing that 26 into 4. Waist measurement as well, whatever you get, you divide it into 4. The hip measurement, you divide it into 4. Okay, the hip measurement also, you divide it into 4. So you're going to start with that first. Hold that, bear that in mind, so that when you want to go into other, major measurements, you're going to understand this, where it applies that you're dividing into 4 or into 2. All right, so now I need you to watch what I will be doing. Now, these are body form. Why are they divided into 4? Because when you want to cut on a pattern, you just don't carry a fabric and start cutting. You have to break your measurement down. That is what we are breaking into 4. Okay, so I will be drawing a line to explain this. So let's say I've used a tape on this, so that I'll be able to write on this form, so you can understand what I'm saying. So we are dividing our measurement into 4, and this is how the division goes. So I'm just going to be writing a straight line, drawing a straight line like so. Okay, this is the front. So now we have divided the front into 2. So here we go. This is the front left. Okay, so I'll label here my front right rather. This is my front right, and this is my front left. Are we following? Okay, so now this is my front right and this is my front left. Yeah, we've divided it into 2. So you are going to turn the back as well and divide into 2. So this is my back right, and this is my back left. Okay, so now why are we dividing it? So that we'll be able to transfer this to our pattern and then to our fabric. You're trying to break your measurements into 4. So now, what did we divide for the bust? Okay, so the bust, we had 26. 26 is going to be divided by 4, because that's how you transfer it on your fabric. This is one part, this is one part, this is another part, this is another part, making it 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is where your mathematics game comes in play. If you don't know math, please go back and learn how to calculate. Now, our bust measurement is 26. Yeah, So now 26 divided into 4. We are going to be dividing this measurement by 4. 26 divided into 4 will be having 6.5. It therefore means that on this front left for our bust, we have 6.5. Okay. For this front right on our bust, we have 6.5. Okay. Now for our back as well, we have 6.5. On our bust on the back, we have 6.5. Okay, so understand this. So if you join 6.5 plus 6.5, at this point you'll be getting 13. So it means 6.5 plus this 6.5 is 13. So for the back alone is 13. Okay, so the front as well, if you join 6.5 plus this 6.5, you'll be getting 13. The front alone is 13. That's for the bust area. All right. So when you join 13 for the front, 13 for the back, it means you're getting 26. Do you understand how the division comes in play now? Good. Now that's for the bust. Okay. Now, where you are to take this measurement is on the line, something they call the bust line. Okay, I think I skipped that part, but let me just run it through. When you want to take this measurement, we have the line, the bust line. Okay, we have the waist line, we have the hip line. Okay, so you need these lines. So it is on this line now. Now, how do you know these lines? You may be asking, how do you know these lines? When your client comes to take measurements, like if you want to take my bust measurement, you're not going to be taking my bust measurement here, right? You're not going to be taking my bust measurement here, right? Where are you taking my bust measurement? Where my actual bust is. Now this is my bust line. Do you get it? Now this is my bust line. It means that I would be taking this measurement right on my bust. So wherever this tape has gone round to is what we are calling the bust line. On my waistline, how do you get your waistline? You can get your waistline 2 inches above your navel. Okay, 2 inches above your navel. Of course, I can't be removing my clothes to show you that, but then you can also, you don't have to, as a beginner, you need to know that, but for an expert, I don't have to tell the client, raise your clothes, let me see your navel so that I can take 2 inches. No, you can tell your client, for a beginner, you can tell your client to touch her navel, and then when her hand is there, you can just place the tape like so, 2 inches. Okay, so 2 inches. When you get 2 inches, it means on that 2 inches, that is your waistline. It means it is now on the waistline, you'll be taking your waist measurement. So that is your waistline. The hip line as well, you can just take your tape round the hip. Don't take it above the waist, or above the hip rather, or down below the bum. No, the tape should be going round your client's, which is going to form the hip line. Or another way is to come down from the line by 8 inches. I don't want to fool your brain with all this, and so I'm not going into details for how many inches to come down. How many, it's better you take it on your client's measurement. How do you measure these lines? You're going to be transferring it on your pattern. I'll show you how to transfer these lines. It is now on the line, you're going to put in all these measurements. Okay, so back to our division now. We are talking about division measurements. Okay, we are talking about how to calculate or impute these measurements. So now on my waist, we had measured 22. Yeah. So now, how do you get your 22? Or how do you measure this? It means that my 22 has been divided into 4 as well. Okay, so 22 divided into 4 is going to give you 5.5. 22 divided into 4 is going to give you 5.5. So where you have 5.5 here, on the center front for my waist is 5.5. For the left hand side is 5.5. So it means the measurement for my front, on my front waist, is 11, because 5.5 plus 5.5 is what? 11. It applies to the back as well. Okay, 5.5. Remember, there are lines here. I've not drawn for this one. This is the bust line, the waistline, and then there's the hip line as well. So 5.5. Okay, so 5.5 plus 5.5 is what? 11. For the front, 5.5 plus 5.5 is what? 11. 11 plus 11 is what? 22, which is our waist measurement. Okay, I'm going to show you how when you transfer this, it will now make more sense. Okay, it applies to the hip. Whatever your hip measurement is, divide it into 4. So for our hip measurement, we also use 26. It also means that by division, here would be 6.5, 6.5. For the back as well, 6.5, 6.5. And when you join this measurement, it's going to give you 26. Okay, so now I'm going to be transferring this to a fabric so that you know how to transfer these lines and these measurements rather to a paper, not the fabric. Okay, it's always good you transfer your measurement to a pattern first before you transfer to a fabric. Except you're an expert, you can now do it on your fabric, because there are times you may make mistake, and you know a fabric, once you've cut it through, you've cut it. If it's spoiled, it's spoiled. You can't amend it. Okay, so you don't waste your fabric, so you don't ruin your client's dress. It's good to transfer to a paper. The paper will give you like a picture of what you're about to cut. If there's any correction, you correct it on your pattern paper. That way you are sure of what you're doing, and then you transfer it to your fabric. Okay, so let's get into our pattern paper. I'm going to be transferring this same fabric, transferring this same measurement to our pattern paper, and from our pattern paper I'm going to be cutting the fabric. And when I cut it on the fabric, we are going to sew a blouse together, and you're going to see how it's going to size this body form. Okay, so let's get into cutting. So these are the measurements we took. Okay, so SH represents shoulder. You can abbreviate it to whatever you're going to remember or understand. And on our shoulder we took 10. So I didn't mention that on the shoulder we don't divide shoulder into 4, we divide shoulder into 2. It is standard. Okay, so for our bust measurement, it is 26, and remember we divided it into 4. So like I said, shoulder you divide into 2. I'm going to be dividing it for you to see. Shoulder divided into 2 divided by 2, we will get 5. You will understand this. So 26, which is our bust, we are dividing into 4. Okay, by 4 we got 6.5. 6.5. Our waist measurement divided into 4, we got 5.5. Yeah, 26 divided into 4, this is our hip, this is our waist, into 4, we are getting 6.5. Remember, it was on our dress form we got this. So now our length. So length, remember the length we took, it is a vertical measurement, and I said vertical measurements are straight measurements. Okay, you are not dividing your length, so you are putting the actual measurements like so. So 15, we are not dividing this. Okay, so we are going to be transferring this on a pattern. Mind you, these are the measurement we will now be using. What we have divided, this is what we'll be using. So this is our pattern paper here. This is our pattern paper. Okay, so when you want to cut your fabric, when you hear people say fold into 4, fold into 4, that is because they are dividing into 4. Okay, that's because they are dividing into 4. That is why you fold into 4. So now this is my pattern. This is, let's say this is my pattern. Okay, I want to fold this into 4. Okay, why? Because this is going to represent the front, and remember the front we had 6.5 for the front side. Okay, let me draw this. So let me just use this rough sketch. Don't mind my drawing, please. I want you to understand this. So I want to transfer what we had on the dress form now. Okay, so these are our lines. This is our bust line, this is our waistline, this is our hip line. Just this thing, the video, what you saw now on the dress form is what I want to transfer here. Okay, so we had 6.5 for our bust, right? 6.5 for our bust. Okay, for our waist we had 5.5, 5.5. For our hip we had 6.5, 6.5. Likewise the back. So whatever you have here, you had it for the back. Just assume that this is the dress form that I was standing with, that I drew here. I want you to understand this. So we said now for the front, we have this 6.5 plus this 6.5 is what? Is 13. Okay, meaning 13 for the front, for the back as well is 13. 13 plus 13 gives us our bust measurement, which is 26. Yeah, 5.5 plus 5.5 gives us 11. 11 is for the front, 11 is for the front, and 11 is going to serve for the back as well. So 6.5 plus 6.5 gives us 13. 13 is for the front and 13 is for the back. I don't have to draw it again. So now, this our paper, we are folding it into 4. Like I said, this is the measurement we are using, the one we have divided. Now, this is going to serve as my front. I'm folding this front into 2, like so. Can you see? This is going to serve as my front left and my front right. Okay, so let me label it for you to understand. This is my front left. I want to transfer the measurement, what we measured on our body form, so that you're going to understand this thing. Front right. Okay, so now our front right and our front left has been folded into 2, like so. It therefore means that this 6.5 is going to be for this side. Whatever, I mean, 6.5, 5.5, 6.5 is going to, this is where I'll be taking the measurements. Okay, so this is our front left. Okay, this area, you see me marking this area, everything here, just assume this is a box. Okay, is this box, everything here, this measurement is here. Now this area now, 6.5, 5.5, 6.5, the front left, the front right rather, is this area. Are you getting it? This is for the front. So it therefore means whatever my front is, 6.5 plus 6.5, 5.5 plus 5.5, 6.5 plus 6.5. That's for our bust, waist, and hips. When you open it up, whatever you get should give you 13, 11, and 13. If you're not understanding, please take it easy on yourself. You understand. Sometimes you may not understand once, but as you learn again, or as you go back to it, you revise, you're going to understand. So this is our front. So let's say this is the front side of our dress. We've not shaped it out for you to see, but you need to understand how to transfer this. Okay, so this is the front side. Now this is our back side. All right, this is our back. This is our back right and our back left. Do you get it? So whatever measurement I have here, it applies here. Whatever I've explained here applies here. So what I'm trying to say is that you fold your fabric into 4. Now it's folded into 4, like so. What I'm counting, although you're seeing 2 pieces here, but what I'm trying to explain as folding into 4 is, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. That is folding into 4. Okay, because there are times your fabric will you just fold it into 4. It won't, I've sliced this with the scissors, I've cut it with the scissors for now, so that you're going to understand. But as time progresses, you will understand these things. Okay, so after folding it into 4, so let's assume it has been folded into 4, like so. You are counting it as 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you get it? So now we want to transfer this our fabric. We want to transfer this our measurements on our pattern. Okay, so I'm going to place it like so. When you want to transfer your fabric, you're going to draw out your lines. These lines you have measured. And how do you measure these lines? You measure these lines with your tape. Okay, so now these lines I have measured. So from your shoulder to your hip, taking a vertical measurement is how to get these lines. Okay, so from here to here, just watch what I am doing. Let's assume now this is the shoulder of my client. What I am doing now, I'm trying to put the tape. I'm trying to put the tape on the shoulder of my client here. So let's assume this is the shoulder of my client. And from here to here, I want to draw out my lines first. You're going to draw out your lines first. So if, for example, after measuring on my client, if from the shoulder, when I took a vertical measurement, if from the shoulder to where the bust is 5, for example, it means this is going to serve as my bust line. Remember, this can differ from body to body, and I'm using a small dress form here. Do you get it? For a woman with big bust, small bust, it will differ. So when you put the tape on their neck, let's assume this is my neck. Just watch where this tape is. If this is the neck of your client now, by the time you want to take a, just assume you want to take a vertical measurement. Wherever this tape meets at the bust of your client, that is your bust line. Do you get it? So now I want to assume, because this is a dress form, this measurement cannot be the same if it was an advanced or a big person rather. So let's assume now that this is the neck of my measurement, and I've put the tape, and the tape met her bust on 5 inches. It means that my bust line is going to be 5 inches. Okay, so I'll go ahead now to mark 5 inches. So I'll just mark 5 inches horizontally like so. Okay, 5 inches like so. So this is the starting line. It's always good to have a starting line. Okay, so you can just let me just draw a starting line so that I don't confuse you. So let's assume that the bust measurement had met here when I was taking on my client. It means I'm trying to get a line, because you can't be putting your bust measurement where your waist is or below your bust. If you don't get the lines correctly, when you cut it, it won't give you the desired shape. So you're going to draw a line. This line is to give you a guide of where to put your measurements. Do you get? Because somebody with small bust, her bust will be high. Somebody with bigger bust, her bust now can come lower. So if you go and use this measurement for another person, the dress won't fit. So you need to get the proper lines. Okay, when you've gotten this line now, you will also check the waistline. Okay, when you had taken the measurements, where does this line meet? Okay, so let's assume this is our neck. When you see me putting my tape here, it means that, so for the waist now, for the waistline, so you want to rule out your waistline. So when you took the measurement on your client, where does the waist meet with the tape? Okay, remember I said 2 inches above your navel should be used as your waistline. So if 2 inches above my navel was like around 8, I'm not saying it's 8 oh, remember I'm working with a small measurement here. It differs. As you learn on the job, you will understand. Please don't pressure yourself if you're not understanding this. Just take it easy on yourself. And as you're learning, if you practice it, you will understand. Okay, so let's say again, this is our neck. I want to get my waistline. So let's say the line met at 8 inches. At 8 inches. Okay, I will just be marking 8 inches from my startup line. This is my startup line. Okay, 8 inches. I want to draw out my waist line. It is on this line I will be putting my waist measurement. If you don't draw this line, there's no way you can carry this waist measurement and go and put it on your bust measurement. Do you want to disfigure yourself? So now you're going to, the next thing is to draw out your hip line. Where is your hip line? You will measure that on your client. Okay, so from the startup line to where you measure. So let's say my hip line was 13, or we are working with the length of 15 here, but this pattern is not enough. So let's change this now to 13, since the length of this, you can see the length is not up to 15. Yeah, so let me change the length so that it will favor us, for us to understand. So let's say I'm working with the length of 13, which is my hip line. Anyway, hip line doesn't really apply here because this is a blouse we are making, but I just did that for you to understand. Okay, so the major measurement we need here for this blouse is like the bust and the waist measurement, and then the length. So let's say if the length now is supposed to touch my hip, that is where it comes in place. So let's say this is my hip line at 13. So I'm just going to be placing my tape from this line like so, and then marking it at 13 inches like so. So I'm going to marking like so. So we've gotten lines, right? We've gotten our lines. Let's label our lines. This is the bust line. This is bust line. Okay, this is the waist line, and this is our length, which is the hip line. Okay, please notice where I'm taking my measurements. Okay, remember this is what we call the center front. The center front, when you open it like this. Okay, the major thing, you're drawing the line here, but you don't have to draw it here anyway, because whatever you do here we transferred here. Okay, so now the line, bust line, waistline, hip line, this is our center front. All right, so now the next thing, you want to start imputing your measurements. Now I said we are using because we have divided, because our pattern is into 4, it therefore means we are using this to transfer here. So what am I supposed to use now? On my shoulder measurement, which is 10 divided by 2, we are using 5. So I will come here now and put my 5 inches on this place I'm calling my neckline, which is my startup line. Okay, so now we want to take horizontal measurement. We want to transfer this horizontal measurement on our horizontal lines. Are you following? So I'm putting my tape here from the startup point. We want to mark this 5 inches. Here we have 5 inches. Okay, keep it there. Now on our bust line 26 inches divided by 4, 6.5. It is 6.5 we'll come and put here, not 26 inches. Okay, 6.5. Here, waistline, what do we have? Waistline 5.5. Hip line, what do we have? We have 6.5. Okay, so we are trying to draw out the shape of a blouse here now. All right, so there's something called a chest line. There's something called a chest line, and that chest line is usually like 2 inches above the bust line. It's not standard. Okay, it's not standard, depends on the size you are working with. Okay, like this is a baby form, so I can't be doing 2 inches, because if I do 2 inches the shape of this thing will not be nice. So I'll be doing 1 inches above. Notice what I'm doing. This is 1 inches. Okay, I'm just putting 1 inches to align with this bust line, 1 inches above my bust line. Okay, if you're working for a different body size, is going to You just need to first understand how to make in small measurement. After you do that, you can now understand. Is when you've understood the basics of little measurement, then you will now know how to apply it when you're dealing with a bigger person. Okay, so now this line I want to get now is my chest line, although we didn't measure it on our body form. Okay, so let's label here on our as our chest line. Yeah, what is this chest line used for? It is on the chest line we are going to impute our armhole line. Okay, so now whatever your whatever this your shoulder measurement is, from here to here, 5 inches here, just transfer it down here, the same thing as 5 inches here, transfer it as 5 inches here. Okay, so now that you've transferred it, you're just going to be connecting it on a straight line like so. Remember, we are trying to get a shape here. Okay, so the next thing you want to do now, you want to get your neckline. Of course, your neck is not straight. You're going to be maybe round neck, v neck and all that, but as a starter, please start with round neck. Okay, so for this baby form, I will be using 2.5. For an adult, is more than 2.5. For an adult standard, that some people use 3 by 3 inches, that's 3 width, 3 inches here by 3 inches. Or let me finish this before we get into that. For this little baby, this is not a baby dress. Actually, this is not how to sew a baby dress, or how do I put it, this is like a mini measurement I'm doing here. So you will not come and say what I'm doing now is for a baby. No, it's just a mini size, but I use the form to explain better. So this is 2.5 inches. Okay, I'll be using 2.5 inch because this is a mini size. Okay, so now this is, I've taken the width measurement, that's the neck width. What is neck width? How wide you want your neck to be. So I want my neck to be 2.5. You remember it is 2.5, but when we open it, it will be more than that. To be 2.5 plus 2.5, that's 5 inches. You may not understand, don't worry, just calm down. Okay, if you are a novice, you may not, in case you don't understand, let me put it that way. So let's say I'm doing 2.5 for width, I'm also doing 2.5 for the length. So I'm marking 2.5. It means that I want to do a neckline of 2.5 by 2.5. For an adult, some people use 3 by 3, that's 3 inches width and 3 inches depth. Okay, so now you can use your curve to do necklines, or you can do freehand, but as a beginner, use your curve, it will help you. Okay, so this is our neck. So now there is something called a shoulder slope. So now there is something called a shoulder slope. Sorry, I hope that was clear. In case it wasn't clear, what I did now, I marked my width, show my neck width and my neck depth. So the neck width here is 2.5, and the neck depth is also 2.5. Okay, for the front, so because I will be cutting both the front and the back together, I will also measure my neck depth for the back. Then for the back, is going to still maintain the same 2.5 for the width, but you don't want your neck depth for the back to be as deep as the front one. So I'm using 1 inches. The neck depth is always higher than the back, except when you now want to make other styles. That's when you've advanced anyway. But for a start, always make your neck your back neck depth to be shallow than the front. Okay, so this line now is for the back. You may be wondering, why am I drawing it here on the front? Don't worry, you understand when I want to cut. Okay, so this is our neckline for the back, and this is for the front. Okay, so there's something called the shoulder slope. Okay, you don't just cut your dress, this part is the shoulder side. Okay, this is like the armhole side, that's the armpit in a layman language, but as a designer you call it armhole. Okay, this is the part your armhole will be, this is the part your neck will be. So this is like a place resting on your shoulder. Okay, your shoulder is not straight, you have to come down a little so that it's going to rest and be fitted on your shoulder. So let's say I'll be coming down by half inches. This is a mini size, but if you're working with a mature person, for normal big person you come down by 1 inches. Okay, but because this is a mini size, if I come down by 1 inches the shape will look somehow. I'm just showing you in a mini size. Okay, so you need to understand pattern drafting first before you now understand how to now use different sizes. Okay, so this is my shoulder slope. So now the next thing we want to do now is to do our armhole. The armhole, to draw your armhole, you're just going to be measuring whatever you have from this point to this point, like so. I have 3 inches, so you'll be getting the middle of 3 inches, which is 1.5. That's 3 inches divided by 2 is 1.5. Okay, whatever is the midpoint, just mark it. Okay, so now that you have marked it, you're going to be coming in by for the front, for an advanced person you come in by 0.7. For the back you come in by 0.5, that is half inches. Okay, so I won't be doing that because it's a mini size. As we progress you're going to understand. So let's just say I'll be coming in here by half an inches because this is a mini size. Keep this line, keep this point, we'll be needing it. Okay, so now our measurement, we want to transfer it here. We are done with this area, we want to transfer our measurement. Remember I said we are working with all these measurements we've gotten here. We've impute 5, that's our shoulder measurement, which is 5 here. We want to impute our bust measurement, which is 6.5. Okay, 6.5, you're going to be, this is the point. Okay, so 6.5, you want to mark your 6.5. Okay, I've marked everything. So you want to connect all these measurements, and all these lines you have drawn. All right, so to connect you're going to be using your armhole or your curved rule, your French curve, to connect this line, but I will just be using free hand to connect all these lines. Okay, so this is our arm curve. Please, if you're a beginner, we still have a video on the actual measurement for big size, but this is like a pattern drafting. I need you to understand pattern drafting, and it is more like understanding how to transfer these measurements on a paper. That's the essence of this video. So now I'm going to be connecting all these lines. To connect these lines I will just use my ruler to connect these lines. Remember, this is our bust measurement where it meets our waist measurement and our hip measurement. I'll connect these lines like so, where all the points meet. Are you seeing that it's taking shape now? So now we are going to be, remember this thing is joined both front and back. I'm cutting my front and back together. Over time you're going to be learning how to now add zip on it, but you need to understand this one first before you now know how to cut the one that has a zip. Okay, so we'll go ahead now to cut this measurement. So to cut this measurement I will just be following these lines. Okay, I'll be following these lines. Okay, so I'll go ahead now to cut. So this is our armhole. I'm cutting both the front and the back together. All right, although the back armhole is supposed to be outside. Let me not bore you with that, so that I just want you to understand this, and then when we get into cutting an actual size you will now understand how to cut the armhole different from the front. Okay, so now this is the shoulder slope I just cut. So we want to cut the neckline. Because the neckline and the front line are not the same, you can see every other thing aligns, they are the same, but the neckline and the back neckline, the front neckline and the back neckline is not the same. So I'll be cutting it separately. So what I'll do, I'll first use this line to cut the back because I'm also cutting the front and the back together. So this is the first line I'm cutting, which is the back neckline. And then you can see this is our back, right? This is our front. Okay, so now I'll be using this line now to cut my front. I don't want to cut it together so that the neckline will not be the same. Okay, so our pattern is ready. So to sew this now, you're going to be transferring it on a fabric. Okay, and when you want to transfer it on a fabric, you would be adding allowance, which is what we call your sewing allowance. Okay, so let's confirm these measurements. Let's confirm all these measurements to see. So we have 26 as our bust. Remember, this is our chest line, this is our bust line, this is our waistline, this is our hip line. Okay, we want to confirm if we got this right, and we had divided before we cut out this, so we want to confirm back our measurements. So we have 26, and we said 26 plus 26 divided by 4 is 6.5. So if the front is 6.5 and this is 6.5, this is what we have now for the front. Can you see? So you can see what we have now for the front. Can you see? So if here is 6.5 for our bust, here is 6.5 for our bust. Okay, it means that at the end of the day, 6.5 plus 6.5, we should be having 13 inches here. So let's confirm if we have 13 inches. Can you see? Can you see what we have here? From here to this point, we have 13 inches as our bust. So it means when I sew this cloth and add my allowance and sew it, this place will enter the bust of the client or the body form we have taken the measurement for. So this is 13 inches. Now on our waist, we said here is 5.5 plus 5.5, which will give us 11 inches, right? So it means that my waistline should be 11 inches. Okay, so when you measure it, this is it. Can you see? 11 inches. Same for our hip line. We said hip line 6.5, 6.5 together is what? 13 inches. So when you measure your hip line, it should be 13 inches. So this is just your front, and we have a duplicate copy here, which is the back. So it means that when I join this together, when I sew it, when I sew this blouse together and join it, this is going to double up. Whatever I have here is going to double up with this one and give me my actual measurement. So we have 13 inches here, plus the 13 inches here will give us 26 for our bust, 5 inches, 5.5 inches here, plus 5.5, which is 11 inches, plus another 11 inches for the back will give us 22 inches for the waist, and it applies to the hip as well. Okay, so this is how you draft your pattern. When you draft your pattern, you would now know how to transfer on a fabric. Okay, so for those of us that are saying, oh, how did you get this line? Oh, I don't understand the lines. Oh, the lines I'm seeing, I don't, how did you get it? I hope this video has done justice to it. Okay, so because this is not a natural size, it's just a mini size. Okay, I'm going to be taking you through on how to take bigger measurements. Okay, so we have a full course for our beginners who are just novice into fashion designing. So I hope this makes sense. This would like give you an understanding of pattern drafting, so that in our subsequent classes for beginners, you will understand how these lines are achieved. Okay, so I'll be giving you an assignment for you to create something like this. Okay, and please submit it either in our class. If you are in our class, submit it for our beginners, so that you can it can help you to grow more in this. And wherever you're watching from, you can always drop your assignment under the comment section. So this, if you have watched to this end, then you are really ready to learn. Therefore, I will encourage you to participate in this assignment. Draft something like this. You can actually draft this in the same size I used. Okay, if you can draft this, then you know that the next time you want to make something for your own size or in a bigger size, you will understand the basics of what to do next. Okay, so my dear teammates, what I have done here is to transfer this pattern to a fabric. Okay, so exactly what we have here on the pattern, I just went ahead to cut it on our fabric. So if you notice, there are allowances here. This is going to serve as my sewing allowance. Okay, we keep it because if you cut it exactly on the fabric, let's say you cut it exactly the way it is, remember the measurement you took here. When you sew it, it's going to eat into your measurement, and you don't want that. It's going to be too tight. Okay, so you're just going to add other allowance here. Even though this is not really part of what this pattern drafting is about, going to show us I'm just showing us this so that you understand. Okay, so you can see what we have here. This is the front, right? This is the front, and this is exactly what I have transferred here, but with an allowance. Okay, the same with the back. Okay, so in our subsequent classes you'll be learning how to put a zipper for the back, but for a start you don't need that. If you're a beginner and you've never sewn before, please start with this one, and then when you have mastered how to do this, you can now do the one with zipper, and then you start to do other styles and you graduate into them. Okay, so to sew this, you're just going to join both the front and the back. Okay, so what differentiates the front and the back from this is the neckline, because they are going to be the same. So this is our fabric. This is the good side. We call here the good side, and here is the bad side. That's the wrong side. Okay, so I'm just going to carry this, and then this is my front pattern, and then I'll place the good side to the good side. Okay, so that you don't sew the front to the back. So this is how you be sewing it on your machine. So you take it to your machine like so, and you're just going to sew here, here, and shape it down. Okay, so this is all we'll be doing for now as a beginner. Forget the armhole, forget the neckline. Just want to create a blouse out of this. So to just join in, the only thing you need to join now is to join the neck, the shoulder, and the side. So I'll go ahead and do that so that you see what it looks like on the dress form. So can you see what we have here? I have stitched it and down. Okay, so this is just a pattern drafting tutorial. The essence is not really to show you how to sew, but how to understand pattern drafting, and that's why I went ahead to further transfer it on this fabric so that you can see how we brought it to life. Okay, so these are the stitches. I used the different colors so that you'll be able to see it. Okay, so as a fashion designer who is just a novice, you have to just start from somewhere, and this is the basic. You have to start from here. Don't be in a rush. Don't put yourself under pressure that you want to start sewing the trendy styles. No, this is like where you start from. Start from a foundation and make mini size dresses. When you have made this, then you can now graduate into making an actual blouse in your size with zip, an actual blouse with sleeve and all that. Okay, so I'll go ahead now to wear this on our body form so that you can see how the measurements we took and transfer to this fabric was brought to life. Okay, so you can see what it looks like on the dress form. So as a beginner, this is what you should make first. Every design you see has a foundation, and as a beginner, this is what every beginner must be able to make first before you start learning how to put sleeves, how to put flare, and how to be creative with it. Okay, so don't put pressure on yourself, just take it easy. So my assignment to you is that you're going to replicate this in your own size. Regardless that I have made this in a very mini size, you'll still be able to apply the same technique and format to creating in your own size. So if you listen closely, there are places where I stated if you're making in big size, use so inches. If you're making in so size, use like this. And I want you now, that's why it's an assignment, to do it and replicate it in your own size. Do well to share this practical with us, this assignment practical with us in our Telegram class. And if you're not in our Telegram class, if you're watching from Facebook, you can do well to share it under this post in the comment section or wherever you're watching from. Okay, if you don't have a machine, you can actually use your hand needle to do this, and I'll be glad because I'll be so appreciated that I see people that are learning from me. Don't forget, we have a full beginners course where we'll take you through this journey as a beginner. And if you're not already enrolled, please send us a message. Bye.